Abwarten. Wir gehen ins nächste Video rein. Victor Wembanyama will change the San Antonio Spurs forever. Ich habe das eben schon mal gesagt. Der Kollege hat den Titel von dem Video geändert. Das ist nämlich schon ein bisschen länger raus, vor 7 Monaten. Und seitdem er wusste, dass Victor Wembanyama zu den San Antonio Spurs geht, hat er direkt den Titel geändert. Mal gucken. Ich wollte mir das schon ein bisschen länger anschauen. Gucken wir uns mal an, was AlexHoops zu Victor Wembanyama zu sagen hat.
Wembanyama has looked unreal in the few preseason games that we've
Der Name ist halt auch schon alleine ein Zungenbrecher.
seen from him against the G League Ignite, and he's established himself as the clear frontrunner for the first overall pick in the 2023 NBA Draft. He's been
Warte mal, er spielt in der G-League.
so good that analysts and reporters are saying that he's going to spark a race to the bottom like we've never seen before from NBA teams. There are some prospects that are just so transcendent that they captivate the NBA world's attention. Victor Wembanyama is taking that to the next level. Victor Wembanyama is an athlete unlike anything we've ever seen. He's listed anywhere from 7'3" to 7'5", depending on where you look.
Was insane ist, Digga. Mich würde mal interessieren, wie groß er wirklich ist, wenn er neben Christoph Porzingis steht, weil der ist ja 7
He has an 8-foot wingspan, a 10-foot standing reach, and he moves with a fluidity that
Wo der 10-Foot und Standing Reacher kann halt einfach an den fucking Kopf, ohne zu springen.
genuinely hasn't been seen before from guys of this height. The way that he's able to operate in so many different ways is exciting from a team building perspective. Regardless of what team he ultimately ends up getting drafted to, he's going to be able to slot right in from day one and be able to make an immediate impact. His performances under NBA rules have been exciting to say the least because his numbers in other leagues are pretty misleading if you just take them at face value. He's a perfect example of how important it is to actually watch a guy play, because if all you did was look at these numbers to try and draw a conclusion, you're going to trick yourself into a perception about him that's not necessarily accurate. So what is it about him that makes front offices so confident that he's going to be this transformative, franchise-altering player? At the forefront of everyone's mind is the defensive capability that he's exhibited. The most
Ja, mit 7'3" oder 7'5" hast du halt auch meterlange Arme, Bruder, kommst halt überall ran. Er steht an der Freiwurflinie, kann Leute an der Dreierlinie einfach contesten.
common comparison that he seems to get is Rudy Gobert, which is pretty promising on its own. Building out a defense becomes significantly
Auch wenn Rudy Gobert offensiv kompletter Bullshit ist, Digga, aber er hat 2 oder 3 Defensive Player of the Year oder sogar 4.
easier if you're able to drop Wembanyama in as your defensive anchor from day one. But as far as the Gobert comparison goes, there's some good and some bad. The rim protection is similar, but Wembanyama is roughly 2 inches taller with a longer wingspan, and he's quite a bit more mobile than Gobert defensively. Now, that's not to say that
Ja, wer weiß, ne, wie das kommt, wenn er ein bisschen älter wird, aber jetzt zur Zeit ist er noch wirklich sehr, sehr mobil.
Wembanyama is going to be
Was mich sehr wundert, weil er ist 7'3", Bruder. Deswegen ist er halt auch so ein krasses Prospect, weil er sich als 7'3-Typ teilweise bewegt wie jemand, der, was weiß ich, 6'6", 6'5" ist.
coming in and guarding 1 through 5 from day one, but he's surprisingly quick on his feet, and he shows a lot of signs of being able to become a versatile defender at the NBA level. Even if he gets beat
Er ist das schlau, er weiß auch ganz genau, wie er sich hinstellen muss, damit er Leute contestet.
off the dribble, his ability to quickly recover and his ridiculous wingspan are going to allow him to get a lot of blocks from behind. He can take this a step further and bait guys into blocks, letting them get by him so they can get going to the basket. And the second that they think they're in the clear and they go up for a shot, he can get an easy block on them. He's going to be an unreal weak side help defender because not only does he have the length and size to provide help, but he's got great instincts for positioning himself on the defensive end to maximize his ground coverage.
Die Gegenspieler machen das halt noch nicht mal dumm, ne? Die bumpen ihn immer, um ein bisschen stärker auszuspielen gegen ihn. Aber er recovert gut genug, Digga, und die sind halt auch zu klein, dass sie dann irgendwie am Korb abschießen können. Weil er mit seinen 7'5" da rankommt.
We can see that here. He comes up to the perimeter to guard this floppy action, and then he immediately recovers to shut down any scoring opportunity off of this pocket pass. His matchup is going to get a little bold, and Wembanyama has an easy time of blocking the shot. On the topic of ground coverage, this is an area of his defensive game that I think is going to be one of the biggest tools that allows him to be an impactful defender. He's not hindered by the typically bogged down foot speed of other 7-footers. He's quick, and most importantly, he knows where to be and when to be there to impact the play on the defensive end. He has a defensive feel for the game that can't be taught. He just gets it, regardless of the actions he's being put in or the players he's being matched up against. With so many different ways to use him on the defensive end, any front office is going to have their job made infinitely easier when it comes to building a team around him, especially when you start getting into his offensive skill set.
Bruder, wie willst du den Floater über einen 7-5-Typen hinkriegen? Der Einzige, der es hinkriegt, ist Prime Derrick Rose.
This idea
Digga, das ist ein geiler
of versatility seems to be a pretty common theme with Wembanyama. Offensively, there's just a ridiculous amount of variety in
Bruder, das sieht aus, als wenn das fucking 2K
what he can do. He can operate as a traditional lob threat in the pick and roll, while also offering the ability to pop out to the perimeter for catch and shoot threes. His length
das ist halt gefährlich. Ich bin auch mal gespannt, ob er in der NBA genauso viel Dreier wirft wie da.
makes your ball handlers
Vor allem auch so eine Dinger wie Stepback-Dreier und so, mal sein 7-5.
life a lot easier, as he can reach passes that would otherwise be considered unreachable for others. He can contort his body into unorthodox angles to receive passes, forcing defenses into difficult coverages and making it easier for him to get to the rim. He'll be able to make a ton of his money just from camping out in the dunker spot, and he'll thrive if he's put around a ball handler with high-level scoring gravity. When defenses collapse on someone applying pressure at the rim, he can turn dump-offs and lobs into easy buckets. When you get into his ability as a shot creator, you start to talk a little bit more about the upside rather than practical application at this very moment in time. We've seen in his 2 exhibition matches against the G League Ignite team that he possesses incredible ball handling ability for his size. While it's not the tightest handle in the world right now, it's tight enough that you can work with it and really lock it in as something he can use to get shots.
Erinnert mich ein bisschen wie Jason Tatum und Jaylen Brown, als sie in die NBA kamen. Lol, der Klassiker, Dortmund gegen FC Bayern.
He dribbles
das heißt in Amerika auch einfach der Klassiker? Warum wird das da gezeigt, hä?
Lower to the ground than a lot of 7-footers typically do, which means he's not going to be as liable to turn it over when guys try to reach in for steals on him. He possesses legitimate guard skill. It's not one of those situations where the handle is only impressive because it's a 7-footer doing it. It's functional in a way that it would be functional for a guard, and while there's still some room for improvement, it's already in a state that allows him to leverage it in a game setting at game speed. And his shooting touch right now looks really exciting, even if the efficiency in some of the international leagues he's participated in hasn't reflected that. He was hitting turnaround fadeaways, knocking down threes off the dribble, and getting to his spots for mid-range jumpers consistently in his 2 outings during the preseason. His mid-range is going to be nearly unguardable since he just gets so much elevation on it. He has a 10-foot standing
dass überhaupt noch springt
reach, and that allows him to get literally above the rim when he's taking his jump shots. Defenders are going to have to jump as high as they would to contest a shot at the rim just to try and block his mid-range jumpers. It's akin to Kevin Durant, where his form is sound enough that he's just tall enough to where it doesn't matter how close and tight you're playing on him. If you don't jump to the level of the apex of his shot, he's going to have no problem getting it off. He's also
Bruder, was sind das für Shots?
also exhibited some movement shooting ability, which is arguably one of the most valuable skills a player can have in the modern NBA, except he's doing it as a 7-footer. Movement threes are tough enough to guard because a player is usually taking them coming off of screens or handoffs. With Wembanyama, not only are you going to have to navigate the screen effectively, but you also have to get high enough in the air to even contest the shot. His height adds a whole new layer to the puzzle of trying to defend him. While he may lack the strength that's expected of bigs in the post, he makes up for that lack of strength in his post footwork. The distance he can cover with his non-pivot foot allows him to weasel around defenders to get to the basket. Once again, with that reach that he has, you've got to be on him as tight as possible to have any chance of meeting him at the rim.
Oder selbst ihren Center sieht klein.
He rounds out his scoring prowess with some really promising playmaking.
Bruder, dann spielen die 2 7-Footer gleichzeitig.
Upside. With his
Das ist sehr gottlos.
ball handling ability comes the opportunity for him to operate as an offensive initiator, with things like reverse pick and rolls and mid to high post playmaking applications being a possibility for him down the road. He has great floor vision, and similar to how height is advantageous for NFL quarterbacks in terms of being able to see more of the field, Wembanyama's height gives him an almost bird's eye view of the court. Like here, he's initiating from up top, and his height gives him a full, unobstructed view of the floor. He sees the opening on the interior, and instead of having to line drive the ball to the cutter, he's able to softly drop it right into the pocket for his teammate to get the bucket.
Man muss auch dazu sagen, dass keiner von denen annähernd 7 Foot ist. Und der Typ, zu dem er den Ball spielt, er ist selber 7'3" und er spielt ihn zu jemandem, der selber 7 Foot ist.
It's almost a certainty that he's going to be drawing tons of defensive attention on the interior and when he's posting up. So it's likely that he's going to be able to leverage that defensive attention to find open shooters around him and get the ball to cutters. Here he drives and the defense is going to collapse on him, allowing for an easy dump off to his teammate for 2 points. On this one, he moves towards the nail, bringing all of the defensive attention with him. Meanwhile, his teammate is going to make a smart cut, and he baits the defense by going airborne before finding his teammate in stride for the finish. So with all of this taken into account, what exactly is Victor Wembanyama's upside? He's very much a generational prospect. He's not a talent that comes around frequently, and it's no wonder that so many teams are evaluating how they can maximize their chances of getting him in next year's draft. He comes with all the benefits of a generational defensive big while being an offensive unicorn. Roster construction around a guy like that becomes infinitely easier. You get him a good running mate that can operate as a shot creator and primary playmaker around him, and then you surround those two guys with players that can shoot and defend, and boom, you've got yourself a pretty stellar team that could potentially compete for championships depending on how much he develops and how high he goes in terms of his potential. It's
Also kann er im Endeffekt der Big Man bei einem guten Duo sein.
not really a
Aber ich würde ihn halt sogar noch als mehr einschätzen, Bruder. Du brauchst halt gar nicht mehr so einen starken Point Guard, sondern jemand nur, der sehr guten Ballhändler ist. Dennis Schröder, so wäre perfekt, ne? Der Typ ist eigentlich extrem krass in Scoring und so. Aber Dribbling ist brutal und Playmaking, Digga. Und das wäre so ein perfekter Pick für Victor Wembanyama. Weil er dann derjenige ist, der abschießen wird.
matter of if Victor Wembanyama becomes a top 10 player in the NBA. It's more just a matter of when. From a
Weißt du, wie unfair das auch wird, wenn wieder Eurobasket oder so eine Kacke ist und Deutschland dann gegen Frankreich spielen muss und einfach gegen 7'5" Victor Wembanyama.
talent standpoint, he's as close as you can get to a sure thing in any draft. He's already being considered one of the greatest prospects in basketball history, and it's pretty easy to see why. If you guys enjoyed this video and you want to see more content like this, please consider subscribing and leaving a like. That's the #1 way to support me and help me continue to make content. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.
Also er hat mir einen sehr guten Einblick von seinem Playset gezeigt. Sehr viele gute Clips, Digga, wo man so ein bisschen Bild machen konnte. Ich bin halt sehr gespannt, weil gefühlt hat jeder Basketballspieler so eine Clips in der Highschool gebracht. Oder im College oder in der G-League oder wo auch immer die herkommen. Aber als sie dann in der NBA angekommen sind, war das wieder so.